Hello, this is a psychic reading for 2024. So, 2024 is going to be a very challenging year, especially for the economy. And I know this may seem obvious now, but I've actually been saying this for a very long time now. In 2020, people thought that the economy was going to completely collapse, and I was telling people that it's not quite going to yet. Just wait until 2024. And I don't really think that the economy is going to completely collapse, but I do feel that this will be the most difficult year. It will be somewhat of a dark economic struggle. Now, this luckily I think will improve in 2025. About, well, 3 going on 4 years now ago, in 2020, I had this vision of how the future will play out, and we were going to go through massive changes, and 2024 will be the most difficult year of that shift. But then from there, we're going to start improving again, moving into 2025 and 2026, where things will be completely different, and it will be as if we live in a completely different world. Now, 2027 seems a lot nicer, and then from there, there will be more difficulties in the future, but overall, as a culture, as a society, we will have transitioned into something new. I talk a lot more about that in my previous videos. I did a video on the frequency of the Earth shifting for the psychic prediction of October, where I also predicted the attacks of Hamas and all of the situation going on in Israel before it happened. I said that this month something big was going to happen, and I basically described the situation. You can go and watch that video. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. But regardless, what's going on for 2024? I'm seeing Biden being shocked and sad, and there's a sense of him feeling trapped. And the US seems to be losing power. I get the sense of Iran specifically coming up. And again, I did say during the July psychic prediction video, actually, I predicted that there would be something in that sea near Saudi Arabia with ships and boats, and that is what we're seeing now. And I was seeing it having an emotional strain on Joe Biden, and it being a big deal leading forward, and we are starting to see that become more of an issue more and more with the trade routes and situations like that. And I believe that this is a big aspect of why in 2024 the economy will be suffering more, is because of trade routes and other countries, the BRICS nations basically gaining power against the US, and I believe that that's going to become much more obvious in 2024, and it's going to affect people, and I think people in the US will start to feel it. So people ask about World War III. I don't particularly see World War III breaking out in a doomsday scenario. If anything, it seems more like it's not really a World War III as much as a Cold War, if you want to call it a Cold War III. But I don't see the whole world turning into a battlefield. I did get the sense that for 2024, I saw a vision of Joe Biden wanting to press the nuke button, but not actually doing it. So That's a little disconcerting, but also reassuring that he's not doing it, at least. So I do see the US dollar having major setbacks in 2026, but for now, I don't see the US dollar having too many issues. As far as ET, UFO, UAP, as far as disclosure and all of that goes, I'm also seeing 2026 being a big year for the US dollar and for a lot more disclosure to come out. However, the reason why I'm talking about that is because when I was reading what's going to happen in 2024, I did get a sense that there will be more disclosure, but it will be at a very, very slow rate. So, some people are expecting it to happen very soon, but unfortunately, I think it's going to take until 2026 for it to really pick up a little bit more steam. So, moving on to Russia and Ukraine. Basically, what I'm seeing for 2024 is a stalemate. That's how it's going to be spoken of in the news, but really what's going on is that Russia has gained land and they are holding that land and they're not going to let go of it. So that's literally what I saw, what I predicted before Russia even invaded, was that it would be a slow, continuous takeover of a certain area that would change the border of Russia and give them extra land. And even though everyone was saying it was going to be a one-day battle, I was saying it was going to take years, and here we are years later where it's still going on. And I continue to believe it's going to take much longer than it has already. But I do think that for 2024, it's going to be basically Russia just standing their ground within the territory that they have taken from Ukraine. And I don't see too much more land being taken or much of anything really happening besides for there being a continuous battle going on there. I did have a vision of Putin packing his bags and going into hiding around March 2024. Now, I wasn't sure exactly what this meant, but then I have already spoken of this vision in the past, and people commented and said that that was around the time, I believe March 2024 may be the exact month or near the month where there is supposedly a election going on. So maybe Putin will have some sort of struggles with the election. However, I did see him coming into power and still having political power later on. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but that was the sense that I was getting. So moving on to Israel and Palestine, the same situation where before it kind of started taking off, I had made a prediction that it was going to be a long, slow, gradual battle. People were saying that it was going to happen within a couple of days and it would be over. It seems to be dragging on. I believe it's going to continue to drag on, as I've seen in my previous vision in the past. So what I was seeing was that the Palestinians would move to the south of the of Israel, and the Israelis would be more in the north. And it does seem that that makes sense with what's going on with all the countries now that things have progressed. It makes more sense understanding how they were trying to get them to go out through the border of Egypt and basically forcing them all in that direction. So I do believe that this will fade out within the decade. So this is not going to disappear anytime soon. I was seeing, which is now starting to play out, but what I had seen was that the Palestinians would actually do a lot better than expected, and that does seem to be what's going on. But in the end, I do see Israel winning, but it's not so much a absolute defeat. It's kind of more like Israel still is in charge of the majority of the land, and at a certain point things change culturally, socially, you could even say psychically, spiritually, energetically. And that's the shift that I've been talking a lot about, especially in that October psychic prediction before October when I predicted it, which again, you can watch that video if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, this shift that we're going through that actually has a lot to do with all the division and chaos in the world, which is unfortunately kind of part of the shifting to a higher frequency. But what I'm trying to say here is that within this shift, society is changing, and I do believe this will affect the outcome of the war with the Palestinians and Israel, in the way that they will slowly stop wanting to battle each other. And I know that sounds almost too good to be true and idealistic, but I do see that becoming more and more the narrative, and in some way, by shining the light on such a horrible situation, I believe it creates more consciousness and awareness, and this is part of the shift taking place. Digging up the difficult negative situations so that they have to be dealt with. So I do believe that will be much better in a decade, but that's a long time from now. So for 2024, it's just going to continue. I do see the first half of the year, maybe the first quarter of the year, more so like where the Palestinians may be actually doing pretty well, but it seems as if towards the end of 2024 it will become more obvious that Israel has the upper hand. So moving on, when I asked more about what should I be seeing or saying about 2024, a wise owl came to me in spirit. I've seen this owl before in the past, which was warning me about the price of Bitcoin, which I will get to the price of Bitcoin soon here. But this owl in the past was warning me not to jump to conclusions, to be conservative in my estimations. And unfortunately, I didn't take the advice as good as I should have. And it wasn't a bad situation on my end, but I could have benefited more if I had listened more than I had. So this time the owl is saying, and I don't remember which month that was, but I did mention that in one of my monthly psychic predictions in the past. But anyways, the owl was talking about the economy this time, and the message was to plan ahead and possibly stocking up on things. That doesn't necessarily mean, stocking up for the apocalypse or something like that, but this just means having some extra wiggle room, financially, but also just having the things that you need in your life, and not be so much walking on a tightrope, so to speak, when it comes to your financial, economic situations. There may be some false optimism too. So things may seem a lot brighter than they are until they hit you. And then it can be rather difficult. So this is the owl reminding me of this again. Also leaving me with the message that we don't want to follow the herd, because it can become too late at a certain point if we don't think about things in advance. And the herd is not really thinking about these possibilities. And we need to stay more balanced. So that is the message from the owl this time. When I asked more on an individual level, what's going on for people more individually speaking and energetically speaking, and to ask that question, I started off by asking, what is the year of 2024 good for? And this was a very strange thing that came up, because it's not really good. But what it's good for is criminals. That's what came up. So I also saw an image of a necklace being torn off of a woman's neck. So unfortunately, the energy of the year of 2024 is rather favoring criminal activities, which is not a good thing, but it is what it is. So, I was seeing a vision of a heavy phone book, and I realize now that a lot of people, some younger people, may not even know what a phone book is, but it's a really heavy book. And this phone book was being dropped real hard, and it was just illustrating the weight and the stubbornness, so to speak, of it, and needing that weight and that heaviness and that stubbornness in order to be able to put your foot down in such a way that you're waiting for an opportunity. You're not jumping at any occasion. It's like you are kind of standing back with your arms crossed, and there's this force to that, which was being illustrated by this phone book being dropped that's very heavy, and not really changing your ways. Basically, preparing for this kind of difficult economic situation and waiting for the opportunity, and not being misled by things that may seem more optimistic than they really are. The final vision that I was given here was that of a dream catcher. But the dream catcher was waiting for the wind to blow. And that was the message, was that you wait for the wind to blow. Even if the dream catcher is just sitting there and it's not doing anything, again, this is that being kind of stubborn and waiting type of energy here. You just wait, and even if it doesn't seem like it makes sense, you just keep waiting, and you wait for that wind to blow, and it will start blowing, not necessarily when you're expecting it. And so that's the message here. Alright. What is 2024 bad for? Well, oh, sorry. Okay, so then, what is 2024 bad for? Besides for criminals, or besides for maybe having your things stolen, or the economy, following the crowd and following the trend is not good for 2024. So you want to be kind of thinking more individually on your own. And also making big bets is also not good. Now, I saw the owl before, basically saying don't make a big bet on Bitcoin. And so this owl is showing up again for the whole year of 2024 rather than just 1 month, which leads me to Bitcoin. So what I see for Bitcoin is a gradual increase overall for the year. The first half, not as exciting. Well, maybe the first couple months could be interesting here, actually. But overall, there seems to be a minor decrease around towards the end of March, going to April. Around that time, it seems that Bitcoin could go down. And this could seem negative, but it's not that bad because it starts to go back up. And the second half of the year, I believe it could potentially reach at least near the all-time high, if not going to a new all-time high. And then it seems to kind of stop and not really go too much higher. But 2025, well, that would be the end of 2024, where it reaches around that height. But 2025 is what I'm saying. It doesn't really seem to go a whole lot higher. Until the end of the year or so. And 2026 also looks very promising, especially the very beginning of the year. And then it may come down ever so slightly. And 2028, again, it seems to go back up again. So that's my macro perspective. If you want to know more about that, I definitely break it down into lots more detail on my Patreon. And on my Patreon, I will be doing Bitcoin monthly updates, well, more like weekly or whenever I can get around to it. And I also talk about all sorts of other things. You can join my Patreon for free, actually, for 1 week for free. And I'll mention more about that at the end of this video. But 2024, there's a lot of shifting energy. The frequency has been changing, and it is going to be integrating more. But because of that, things on the 3D level are going to be shifting a lot and crumbling down. And in some way, you could say, in order to make a shift, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom. And I believe that now that the frequency has shifted, the physical matter is going to be hitting rock bottom in order to do that 180 and come back up again. The advice for the month is think long term. And again, if you've made it this far, I always appreciate a thumbs up. And you can join my Patreon again for free. I have all sorts of information, just whatever's going on in the world, as well as I do readings on individuals who are, public figures, of course. I do these blind, so I don't know who they are until I'm done with the reading, and then I look them up and do some research on them, and then do some more reading into them afterwards. And it's very interesting, and I learn a lot from it. You can have access to all of that if you just sign up for a free 1 week trial on Patreon. And if you can not pay for Patreon and you want to join, I also have a Ko-fi, which I will link below this video as well, where you can maybe find a better way of paying if you live in a different country. I know some people have said that Patreon doesn't work where they live, or there can be big transaction fees. Ko-fi might be better for you if you are not in the US or Canada. So something to look into. And again, I have a link below this if you want to understand more about the shifting energies. I discussed that in my October psychic prediction video, where I also predicted the Hamas attack and just all this stuff that's going on. That's a pretty big deal. And I will have that link below this video so you can check that out if you would like, as well as the prediction I did where I predicted the Iran battle in the ocean before it happened, which I think that may become a bigger deal as time moves along. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.